What would you do if your own daughter slammed the door in your face and shouted, "You're not family. Get out, I never thought it could happen to me." But that Sunday changed everything. And what happened 10 days later? Sundays in our family were always a big deal. I'm talking about the kind of Sundays where you wake up to the smell of coffee brewing, the sound of the old radio playing golden oldies, and the promise of a big family lunch that would leave everyone loosening their belts by 3 in church in the morning, a little gossip in the car on the way home, and then the kitchen would come alive with the clatter of pots and pans, laughter, and the occasional "Mom, where's the salt?" Those were the days I lived for, the days that made all the hard work of motherhood worth it. So when my daughter Emily called me up and invited me over for Sunday lunch, I felt a little flutter in my chest, maybe. Just maybe. She was finally ready to ask for my lasagna recipe, the one she always said was too complicated but secretly loved. I spent the whole morning getting ready. I even put on my good blouse, the one with the little blue flowers that Emily once said made me look classy. I made my famous potato salad, the one that's been at every family gathering since 1982, and I even remembered to bring the extra pickles, just the way Emily likes it. As I drove over, I hummed along to the radio. Feeling that old, familiar excitement, I thought about how nice it would be to sit around her table, maybe share a few laughs and just enjoy being together. After all, isn't that what family is all about? When I pulled up to Emily's house, I noticed her car in the driveway and a couple of toys scattered on the front lawn. I smiled, thinking about my grandkids and how quickly they were growing up. I balanced the potato salad in one hand and my purse in the other and made my way up the front steps. I rang the doorbell, expecting to hear the sound of little feet running to the door, or maybe Emily's voice calling out, "Come in, Mum, in stair." The door swung open and there she was, my daughter standing in the doorway with a look on her face like she'd just bitten into a lemon before I could even get a word out, before I could say, "Where's my hug?" or "I brought your favourite." Emily's eyes narrowed, and she said in a voice I barely recognised, "You're not family, get out." For a second, I just stood there frozen, the potato salad getting heavier by the second. I actually looked behind me, half expecting to see someone else standing there, maybe the neighbour she was mad at. But no, she was looking right at me, my own daughter. My heart started pounding in my chest, and I felt my cheeks flush with confusion and embarrassment. "Emily, what are you talking about?" I managed to stammer, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's me, Mom. I brought the potato salad just like you asked." But she just shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. I said, "You're not family. Get out," and with that, she slammed the door in my face. I stood there on the porch, the sound of the door echoing in my ears, feeling like I'd just been punched in the gut. I looked down at the potato salad still clutched in my hands, and for a moment I wondered if I'd somehow walked into the wrong house. Was this some kind of prank? Was there a hidden camera somewhere waiting for me to laugh it off? But no, this was real. My own daughter had just told me I wasn't family. I felt a lump rise in my throat, and I blinked back tears, not wanting the neighbours to see me cry. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, but my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the salad. I made my way back to the car, my mind racing with questions. What had I done? Had I said something to upset her? Was she angry about something I didn't even know about? The drive home felt like the longest of my life. Every mile, I replayed the scene in my head, searching for clues, for some sign that this was all a misunderstanding. When I finally got home, I set the potato salad on the kitchen counter and just stared at it. It lay, ooked so out of place, sitting there untouched, like a reminder of everything that had just happened. I sat down at the table and put my head in my hands, feeling the weight of Emily's words pressing down on me. "You're not family." How could she say that, after everything we'd been through, after all the years of scraped knees, late-night talks and birthday parties? How could she just shut me out like that? I thought about calling her, about demanding an explanation, but I was too hurt, too stunned, to do anything but sit there and let the tears come. Have you ever had your heart broken by someone you love? It's not like the movies, where you cry for a few minutes and then move on. It's more like dropping your favourite mug and watching it shatter in slow motion, knowing you'll never be able to put it back together the same way again. That's how I felt sitting there in my quiet kitchen, the echoes of Emily's words ringing in my ears. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I knew one thing for sure: nothing would ever be the same again. The drive home that Sunday felt like I was floating through a fog. The world outside my windshield blurring into a grey smear. The potato salad sat untouched on the passenger seat, its cheery Tupperware lid a sharp contrast to the heaviness in my chest. I kept glancing at it as if it might offer some answers, but all it did was remind me of the door that had just been slammed in my face. My mind was racing, tripping over itself with questions and half-remembered conversations. What did I do? Did I forget her birthday? Did I say something at Christmas? Was it the time I accidentally called her husband by her ex's name in my defense? Both are named Mike. That's not my fault, right? I replayed every recent interaction, searching for a clue, a hint, anything that could explain why my own daughter would look me in the eye and say, "You're not family." By the time I pulled into my driveway, I was so wound up I nearly forgot to put the car in park. I sat there for a moment. DS gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. The house felt emptier than usual when I walked in, the silence pressing in on me from all sides. I set the potato salad on the counter where it sat, like a sad little monument to the day's disaster. I paced the kitchen, then finally did what any self-respecting woman in crisis does. I called my sister now. My sister Linda is the kind of person who always has an answer, even if it's not the one you want to hear. She picked up on the second ring and, before I could even finish telling her what happened, she said, "Maybe she's just hormonal." I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "Thanks, SIS. That's helpful," I said, but I couldn't help but smile a little, leave it to Linda to try to lighten the mood, even if her timing was questionable. Still, her words didn't do much to ease the ache in my heart. The truth was I was scared. Scared I'd lost my daughter for good. Scared that whatever invisible line I'd crossed couldn't be uncrossed that night. Sleep was out of the question. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Emily's words over and over. "You're not family." It echoed in my mind, each repetition cutting a little deeper. I thought about all the years I'd spent raising her, the scraped knees I'd bandaged, the school plays I'd cheered at, the late-night talks about boys and dreams and fears. How could all of that be erased in a single moment? I kept asking myself what I could have done differently, but the answers wouldn't come, just more questions swirling around in the dark. By morning, I was running on caffeine and nerves. I decided to call Emily, hoping maybe she'd cooled off overnight. Maybe she'd answer, and we could talk this out like adults. The phone rang and rang but went to voicemail. I left a message trying to keep my voice steady, telling her I loved her, and I was here when she was ready to talk. I sent a text too, just in case no response. The day dragged on, each hour stretching out longer than the last. I kept chess. King my phone, willing it to buzz, but it stayed stubbornly silent. By day 3, my worry had curdled into anger. I stomped around the house, muttering to myself about ungrateful children and the sacrifices mothers make. I even caught myself slamming a cabinet door or two, which in hindsight probably didn't help the situation. But what was I supposed to do? Just sit there and wait for her to come to her senses? By day 5, the anger had faded, replaced by a deep, aching sadness. I missed her. I missed the sound of her voice, the way she'd call, just to tell me about a funny thing the kids did or to ask for advice on a recipe. I missed being part of her life. By day 7, I was just empty. The house felt colder, quieter. I stopped making big dinners, stopped watching our favorite shows, stopped answering calls from friends who wanted to know how I was doing. I didn't have the energy to explain, and honestly, I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted my daughter back. Then on day 10, just as I was starting to accept that maybe things would never go back to the way they were, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer. I was in the middle of folding laundry, and I'd gotten used to ignoring calls. But something made me pick up, and when I saw Emily's name on the screen, my heart skipped a beat. I hesitated for a split second. Should I let her sweat a little, make her wonder if I'd moved on? But who was I kidding? I'm a mom, not a monster. I answered on the second ring. The sound that greeted me wasn't words, but sobs. Emily was crying so hard I could barely make out what she was saying. My heart broke all over again, but this time it was mixed with relief. She needed me, whatever had happened, whatever had caused that awful scene. She was reaching out. And in that moment, all the anger, all the sadness, all the emptiness melted away. I was her mother, and she was my daughter. No slam door could ever change that. When I picked up the phone and heard Emily's sobs, my heart just about broken too. There's something about hearing your Hild cry, even when they're grown, even when they've hurt you. That makes every motherly instinct kick in. I could barely make out her words at first, just the sound of her trying to catch her breath, between tears. Mom, I'm so sorry I messed up, I need you. That was all it took in that moment. All the anger and confusion I'd been carrying for the past 10 days just melted away. I didn't care about the slam door or the words that had stung so badly. All I cared about was my daughter hurting. And reaching out for me, I tried to calm her down, telling her to take a deep breath, that I was here, that everything would be okay. It took a few minutes, but eventually her sobs quieted enough for her to talk. She started to explain, her voice shaky and raw. Mum, I don't even know where to start. I've been so overwhelmed, work has been a nightmare. My boss is on my case about everything, and I feel like I can't do anything right. And things with Mike, well, we've been fighting a lot. The kids are acting out, and I just feel like I'm failing at everything. She paused, sniffling, and I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. I took it out on you, and I'm so sorry. As she spoke, I felt a wave of relief and sadness wash over me. Relief because at least now I understood. Sadness because I knew how hard it was for her to admit she was struggling. Isn't that just like family? We hurt the ones we love most because deep down we know they'll forgive us. I thought back to all the times I'd snapped at my own mother when I was overwhelmed, all the times I'd said things I didn't mean. It's a strange comfort knowing that the cycle continues, that we're all just doing our best, even when we fall short. I listened as Emily poured her heart out, telling me about the pressure she felt to be perfect, at work and at home, about the arguments with Mike that seemed to come out of nowhere, about the guilt she felt for not being the mother she wanted to be. She told me how she'd been bottling everything up, trying to hold it together until it all just exploded right there on her front porch with me as the unfortunate target. I knew as soon as I said it that I'd regret it, she whispered. But I was so angry, and I just wanted to push everyone away. I thought if I could just have some space, I'd figure it out. But all I did was make things worse. I told her gently but firmly, Emily, remember this day, you didn't just lose your mother. You erased your future, but lucky for you, I'm not going anywhere. There was a pause, and then she let out a shaky laugh, the kind that comes when you're not sure whether to cry or smile. I don't deserve you, Mom, she said, but I'm so glad you're still here. We both laughed through our tears, the tension finally breaking. It felt like a dam had burst, and all the pain and confusion of the past week was finally washing away. We talked for a long time that night, longer than we had in months. She told me about her fears, her doubts, the things. She was too embarrassed to say to anyone else. I listened, offering advice when she wanted it, but mostly just letting her know she wasn't alone. I reminded her that nobody has it all together. No matter how it looks from the outside, you're doing better than you think, I told her, and you don't have to do it all by yourself. By the end of the call, we were both exhausted but lighter, like we'd set down a heavy load we'd been carrying for too long. I promised her I'd come over the next day, and this time she sounded genuinely happy about it and bring the potato salad, she said, her voice finally sounding like her old self. I've been craving it all week, I laughed, telling her I'd bring a double batch just in case. The next day I walked up her front steps with the potato salad in hand, my heart pounding but hopeful. This time when she opened the door, there were no angry words, no slammed doors, just a long, tight hug that said everything we couldn't put into words. The kids came running, and for the first time in what felt like forever, the house was filled with laughter and warmth. We sat, on the table sharing stories and food, and Emily went back for seconds on the potato salad. You know, Mom, she said, grinning through her tears, I think this really does fix everything. And in that moment, I realized that maybe it did. Maybe forgiveness, a little honesty, and a lot of potato salad were all we needed to start healing. Family isn't perfect, but it's worth fighting for, and as we laughed and cried together, I knew we'd be okay. We'd weather the storm and come out stronger on the other side. After that phone call and the long, tearful hug on Emily's porch, something shifted between us. It wasn't like flipping a switch, more like the slow, gentle thaw after a long, hard winter. We didn't pretend nothing had happened. In fact, we did the opposite. We started talking more, really talking, not just the usual small talk about the weather, or what's on sale at Target, or the latest drama with the neighbours. No, we started having the kinds of conversations I'd always hoped for but never quite knew how to start. We talked about fears, dreams, and regrets, the big stuff, the stuff that matters. It was as if that one painful Sunday had cracked us open, letting all the things we'd kept bottled up finally spill out into the light. I remember one afternoon, a few weeks after our reconciliation, sitting at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee, watching the sunlight dance across the countertop. Emily sat across from me, her hands wrapped around her mug, looking more relaxed than I'd seen her. In ages, she told me about her worries at work, how she sometimes felt like she was drowning in expectations, and how she was afraid of letting everyone down. I listened, really listened, and for the first time, I didn't jump in with advice or try to fix everything. I just let her talk, and I could see the relief in her eyes. It was a new kind of closeness, one built on honesty and vulnerability, not just shared history. We talked about her marriage too, how hard it was sometimes, how she and Mike were learning to communicate better. How they were both trying to be more patient with each other. She even admitted that she'd started seeing a counselor, something she'd always brushed off before. I told her how proud I was of her. And she smiled, a real, genuine smile that made my heart swell. We laughed about the chaos of raising kids, swapped stories about the messes and the milestones, and even shared a few secrets we'd never told anyone else. It felt like we were building something new together. Something stronger than what we'd had before. And you know what? Our relationship is stronger now than ever. It's not perfect. No family ever is. But it's real. We still have our moments. Of course. There are days when we get on each other's nerves, when old habits creep back in, when we say things we don't mean. But now, instead of letting those moments fester, we talk about them. We apologize, we forgive, and we move forward. It's amazing how much lighter life feels when you're not carrying around old grudges. Sometimes it takes a little heartbreak to remind us what really matters. I think back to that Sunday standing on Emily's porch with my potato salad and my broken heart, and I realize now that it was a turning point. It forced us both to confront the things we'd been avoiding, to face our fears and insecurities head on. It wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't fun. But it was necessary. Without that moment of pain, we might never have found our way back to each other. If you're out there feeling like you've lost someone, don't give up. Family is messy, complicated, and sometimes downright infuriating, but it's worth fighting for. I know how easy it is to let pride or hurt feelings get in the way, to convince yourself that it's too late or too hard to fix what's broken. But trust me, it's never too late. Sometimes all it takes is a phone call, a heartfelt apology, or a willingness to listen. Sometimes it takes a little time and a lot of patience, but if you keep showing up, if you keep trying, healing is possible. And hey, if you ever get kick, Ed out of Sunday lunch, just remember there's always next week, and maybe a little leftover potato salad. That's the thing about family traditions. They have a way of sticking around, even when everything else feels uncertain. These days, Emily and I have started a new tradition. Every Sunday, we take turns hosting lunch. Sometimes it's a big, noisy affair with the whole family. And sometimes it's just the two of us, sharing a quiet meal and catching up on life. No matter what's on the menu, there's always potato salad. It's become our little inside joke, a reminder of how far we've come. The grandkids love it too. They've started calling it Grandma's Magic Salad, convinced it has special powers to make everyone happy. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe it's not the salad itself, but the love and forgiveness that go into making it. Maybe it's the simple act of sitting down together week after week and choosing to be a family no matter what. So if you're reading this and feeling a little lost, a little hurt, or a little lonely, I hope you'll remember my story. I hope you'll reach out to that person you're missing, even if it feels scary. I hope you'll give yourself and them a second chance. Because at the end of the day, family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, loving each other through the mess, and never giving up. And if all else fails, just bring the potato salad. You'd be surprised how much it can heal. Sometimes the greatest lesson we can teach is in our silence. Love doesn't always shout. It waits, it walks away, and it lets the heart realize what truly matters. This story isn't just about a broken bond, it's about awakening. Because pain has a way of clearing the fog, and absence often speaks louder than presence. Sometimes walking away is the first step toward healing and true reconciliation. Thank you for watching this video. Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly value every story and every voice. Don't forget to subscribe to Tears and Strength and share this video with your friends.